What's going on, you guys? This is AllDayToday1 and I'm going to be giving you guys an Anomaly Trickster build. So with this build I'm going to be showing you is going to be putting out a lot of damage for solo as well as having a lot of survivability. Now unfortunately you won't have the same damage output as someone who's running a Trickster Firepower or Pyro Firepower or a Techno Firepower build, but for a group setting this build is going to be very useful in terms of being able to CC a bunch of enemies as well as still being able to put out a lot of damage. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So for the weapon, you're only going to be using your sidearms. You're not going to be using anything else because it doesn't matter. The reason why you're going to be using the sidearms is because it's going to have one of the fastest reloads in the game, as well as basically having unlimited ammo, so you never have to worry about going around picking ammo up or anything like that. The two perks you want to make sure you have is Mark of the Stake and Snow Squall. They both basically do the same thing but have two different effects. One burns and the other one freezes, which is how you are able to see me constantly keeping enemies on fire and unfrozen all the time. This definitely helps a lot in a group setting as well because you're able to help your team be able to just kill the enemies a lot faster that way because they won't be moving and they won't have aggro either. So those are the two perks I would highly recommend having, as well as those stats as well: weapon leech, life leech, and status power, because the fire and the freeze effect is affected by status power, and then the skill leech is also affected by enemies being burned. So the more they're being burned, the more you're getting healed back as well. Now for your gear, you're going to be mainly using Anomaly, status power, skills, life leech, and cooldown on your stats. The two you want to make sure you prioritize is going to be Anomaly and cooldown, whereas status and skills life leech is going to be secondary perks that you do want to also make sure you have, but aren't as important as Anomaly and cooldown. Unfortunately on my helmet I don't have cooldown, so that did hurt a bit, but for your mods you want to have a little bit of pain and untamed power. Little bit of pain allows you to do damage, which also affects your skills life leech, which helps you heal and stay alive more consistently, as well as still being able to put out damage. Untamed power is a very powerful mod for anomaly builds because it basically works off of every skill and your melee attacks. It's melee skills off of anomaly. So anytime you attack with any skill, you're going to also do a nice burst damage that pops out every time you do that. So Untamed Power generally is one of the highest, higher listed skills, or I guess damage on your damage sheet in terms of damage output. So I would highly recommend having Untamed Power on one of your gear pieces. Now for the chest piece, it's going to have Anomaly, cooldown, and status as well, but for the mods, you want to make sure you have Geyser's Wave. You don't need to have Radiation Jump. That just came with the chest, unfortunately. But you don't need Radiation Jump because it does the same thing Geyser's Wave does, but Geyser's Wave does it a lot better because you can hit multiple targets rather than just one target with vulnerability, whereas Radiation Jump only hits one enemy. So in replacement, well, I will show you guys all the extra mods that you can use if you want to use them and if they're available to you. But Radiation Jump is not one you want to use because it's pretty useless. Now for your legs, you want to have Anomaly, cooldown, and skills life leech. So just like the other gear pieces, but with the mods, you want to have Strong Slice and Slasher. Strong Slice allows your temporal blade to do a lot more damage, up to 56.5k more damage if it's the level 50 legs, and then Slasher, it allows you to have an extra temporal blade before you trigger cooldown. So that means you have two temporal blades, which is going to be very useful. But just make sure you do use both in order to have both of them to come back. Because if you use one, you're not going to be put on cooldown. Now you have your gloves. So the gloves as well is going to have anomaly power, cooldown, and status power. On here, you want to have backstabber and long range. If you do not have long range, then it's going to make time rift very useless, because it's going to triple the range, both width and length of the time rift, allowing you to hit several enemies, making it a lot more useful. And Backstabber is really nice because whenever you teleport, which you're going to be teleporting a lot, allows you to do 64.6k damage on enemies you teleport to. Now the last thing is going to be your boots. So Anomaly, cooldown, and status power again. So with the mods, you want to have Damage Absorber and Phantom Dash. Damage Absorber is going to be really nice. I know a lot of you are probably going to be like, why would you want to have a lot of armor? You're an Anomaly build. You should be speccing into something that gives you more damage for Anomaly. Believe it or not, this is going to technically allow you to put out more DPS because of the fact that you're able to stay alive. Now, I've already tested a bunch of different other Anomaly mods that would definitely help with damage output, but being able to stay alive is going to be crucial, especially if you're solo, because if you die, you have to restart all the way back. So having that extra armor, that's a lot. That's basically double the amount of base armor you already get, as well as that 10% extra resistance is going to help a lot. It's going to basically prevent you from getting one shot, maybe two shotted, sure, but one shot isn't really a thing that much in tier 14s solo, and tier 15s is a different breed of its own. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to help. And then Phantom Dash as well is going to be very, very, very useful because it allows you to dash through your enemies through a lot of pretty much everything except through obviously solid objects, which would have been pretty broken if it could. And the other nice thing about it is the fact that it's a lot faster animation than it is for just a regular roll. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend having a Phantom Dash on any of your pieces, one of your pieces obviously, just to make it easier on yourself. So the three abilities you're going to be using is Hunt the Prey, Time Rift, and Temporal Blade. Hunt the Prey is going to be useful because one, it gives you shield and it lets you teleport to your enemies. And what makes it really good is you can target snipers easily and hit them because they should be number one priority because they can do a lot of damage to you or anyone. Especially if you're solo, you want to make sure you can prioritize snipers. And then Time Rift is going to be really nice because one, it automatically allows you to weaken enemies that are affected by the Time Rift, and it lifts them up so it gives you more time to be able to do damage, as well as being able to not take damage from obviously enemies that are lifted. And then the last one is Temporal Blade. Temporal Blade allows you to paralyze and interrupt enemies, but that's not really the whole point of it. The main point of it is the fact that it does a lot of damage. It's the most damage that the Trickster can have skill-wise. There is Venator's Mark, which allows you to have double damage on the first hit, which is a very good perk to have. That's what I used to run on my Anomaly build, but I stopped using it because Time Rift was just better for me to use in terms of solo and being able to just put out more damage in a sense of being able to stay alive. So I would highly recommend using these three perks or these three skills for this build. So you want to make sure you go down the Reaver tree because if you go through the Harbinger, that's a tank tree, and Assassin is a firepower tree. Reaver is the Anomaly tree. So you do want to make sure you go through all this. And then there's going to be a few perks in here that is going to help you with your damage increase a lot because they can stack. So not only scything, counter shield, and then you have combat shields timeline, anomalic acceleration, leap of clincher, and scion of the void. Those are all stackable, and the altered execution, and those are all pretty much stackable perks that'll allow you to do a lot of damage. So the thing is, the clincher is not going to necessarily give you damage, but it allows you to have a 25% piercing to resistance piercing, allowing you to do more damage against enemies that are resistant to abilities. So that's going to be very useful. Make sure you do end up getting that. So now here's a few different options that I'm going to be showing you that will also help you out for your build, but are not necessarily needed, but again do help, and what I would recommend using over the radiation. So you have temporal armor, which allows you to get more armor every time you hit multiple enemies. So if you hit up to 8 enemies, you get 400% more armor for 8 seconds. So this one is actually insane. I used it a lot when I was doing a lot of solos. Then you have pain transfer, which you do damage to one enemy and then you hit all of them. And then you have a bunch of other mods that I'm showing you right now that will help a ton in terms of just survivability and damage output. You have cooldown mods as well if you want to be able to get your abilities back a lot faster too. So that's pretty much it with this video. if this helps you guys out, go and leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or concerns, then please go ahead and leave it down in the comment section, and I will try my best to help you guys out with the best I can. There are other gear sets, or there's a legendary gear set that will actually increase your temporal blade and cyclone attack. I forgot what it's called, but it'll increase both of those attacks by 100%. So that is something I am working towards getting, and when I do end up getting more of an optimal build for the legendary set, because I do have 3 pieces, but they don't have the stats I really want. I need to get different pieces. But yeah, if I do end up getting the pieces I want and making the build, I will be posting the legendary Anomaly Trickster build. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, like I said, that's pretty much it. If this helps you guys out, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know down in the comment section. This is all day 1. Have a good day, good night, peace.